It was a bright summer afternoon, the kind of day where the sun felt warm on your skin and the air smelled faintly of flowers and freshly cut grass. Birds chirped in the trees and a gentle breeze made the leaves sway. In a quiet neighborhood with neatly lined houses and well-kept gardens, a little girl named Layla was busy at her lemonade stand. She had set it up on the corner of the street, right where the sun hit just enough to make the lemonade sparkle. Her stand was simple, a small wooden table, a few plastic cups, a pitcher of lemonade, and a handmade sign that read, "Fresh lemonade, $1." Layla had spent the morning squeezing lemons, mixing in sugar and water, and arranging the cups neatly on the table. She had been excited for weeks to earn some money for a new bicycle she had been dreaming about. Layla was only 9 years old, but she had a determination beyond her years. Every customer received a warm smile from her, and she made small talk with anyone who stopped by. "It's really hot today. Would you like some lemonade?" she would say, her voice cheerful and full of hope. Most people smiled back, sometimes buying a cup or two just to support the little girl with her big ambitions. For a while, the day went smoothly. A few neighbors walked by, stopping to chat and enjoy the lemonade. Layla felt proud and happy. The coins she had collected jingled in the tip jar, and she imagined the day when she would finally have enough to buy her new bicycle. Her mother, watching from the porch a little way down the street, felt a swell of pride. She loved seeing her daughter's excitement, her energy, and her determination. She knew how hard Layla had worked to set up the stand, and she wanted her to enjoy the little rewards of her effort. Then, without warning, the quiet hum of the neighborhood was broken by the roar of motorcycle engines. A group of bikers appeared down the street, riding together in a formation that made them look intimidating. Their engines thundered loudly and the sound echoed off the houses, startling birds and sending a few neighborhood cats scurrying. The air seemed to shake with the vibration of their motorcycles. Layla froze for a moment, gripping the edge of her table as the bikers approached. She had seen motorcycles before, but never so many at once and never so loud. One biker, riding a large black bike with shiny chrome details, was clearly the leader. His leather jacket looked worn and his sunglasses reflected the bright sunlight. He didn't seem happy. As they rode past Layla's stand, he suddenly swerved a little too close. In a blink, the wheels hit the edge of her table. The stand wobbled violently, and before Layla could react, it tipped over. Cups spilled, lemonade splashing onto the pavement, soaking the tablecloth and dripping down onto the sidewalk. The coins in her tip jar scattered across the ground. Layla gasped, stepping back in shock, trying to catch some of the cups before they fell. She couldn't believe what had just happened. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at the mess. Her carefully prepared lemonade, the little money she had earned, all ruined in a matter of seconds. She felt a mix of fear and anger. The biker laughed loudly, a deep mocking sound that made her chest tighten. He revved his engine and rode a small circle around her, making her step back defensively. Some of the other bikers laughed too, as if this was a game. The roar of their engines and their mocking gestures made Layla feel small and helpless. She wanted to cry out, but the noise made it hard to be heard. A few neighbors came out of their houses, drawn by the commotion. They looked shocked, shaking their heads. Some muttered angrily to themselves, while others tried to approach the bikers. But the group was already moving fast and seemed unconcerned. Layla's mother ran down the steps and approached her daughter, panic written on her face. She grabbed Layla's arm gently and asked, "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Layla shook her head, too stunned to speak, her eyes still wide with fear. Her small hands were sticky from the spilled lemonade, and her dress had a few drops of the sugary drink on it. The mother hugged her tightly, whispering reassurances, but both of them felt the lingering shock of what had just happened. It felt like the perfect afternoon had been shattered in an instant. Layla had just wanted to sell lemonade and maybe make a few dollars, and now she felt humiliated and frightened in front of her neighbors. She didn't understand why someone would behave like that. The fear in her chest made her want to hide, to crawl away somewhere safe, but she also felt a little spark of determination. She didn't want to let this ruin her day completely. Just as Layla's mother helped her to stand back up, two figures appeared at the end of the street. They were tall, strong, and confident, moving quickly toward the scene. Layla noticed them immediately, and a small hope flickered in her chest. One of them was a man with a huge, friendly smile and a calm, powerful presence. The other had a familiar look too, his build muscular and his movements purposeful. It didn't take long for Layla to realize who they were. The Rock and John Cena. The crowd of neighbors who had gathered watched in awe. The two men moved swiftly but carefully, assessing the situation. Layla's mother whispered, almost in disbelief, "Oh my God, it's really them." Layla's heart skipped a beat. She had seen these two on TV many times, but never in person. And now they were here. Not just as famous celebrities, but as people who clearly cared about what was happening right in front of them. The Rock knelt down beside Layla, his face calm but serious. "Hey, little one, are you okay?" he asked in a gentle voice that somehow made her feel safer. John Cena moved to help pick up the fallen cups and coins, carefully placing them back on the table. Layla felt tears sting her eyes again, but this time they were a mix of relief and awe. She had never imagined that in such a scary moment someone would come to help her, and not just anyone, two of her heroes. The bikers had slowed down, watching from a distance, unsure of what to do next. They had expected fear and confusion, but they hadn't expected people to intervene. The Rock and John Cena didn't yell or threaten them aggressively. They simply moved with authority, calm and strong. The presence of the two men was enough to make the bikers hesitate. Their mocking laughter faded, replaced by uncertainty. Layla's mother held her daughter close, feeling grateful and amazed. She whispered softly, "They're here to help. Don't worry, sweetie." Layla nodded, feeling the tension in her small body begin to ease. Her small hands were still sticky, and her lemonade was ruined. But seeing The Rock and John Cena standing by her side made her feel like everything might be okay. She felt protected, and for the first time since the bikers had arrived, she could breathe a little easier. The crowd of neighbors had started to cheer quietly, a mix of relief and admiration. Everyone could feel the energy shift in the street. What had started as a frightening incident with a little girl's lemonade stand had turned into something much bigger, a moment of care, bravery, and human kindness. The Rock and John Cena didn't need to say much. Their actions, their presence spoke louder than words. Layla looked up at them, her small face filled with awe. She wanted to say something, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she simply nodded, and they smiled back at her, encouraging her without needing to speak too much. Her mother whispered again, "You're safe now. Everything's going to be fine." Layla finally felt a small smile form, her fear slowly being replaced with hope. The bikers, now unsure of themselves, muttered among their group. The atmosphere had changed. No longer did they feel in control. The respect and authority of the two men, combined with the silent support of the neighbors, shifted the balance. For the first time that day, Layla felt powerful in a way she hadn't before. She wasn't just a little girl who had been scared. She was someone people were willing to protect, and that gave her a strange but wonderful strength. As the afternoon continued, the little lemonade stand became more than just a place to sell drinks. It became a symbol of courage, of kindness, and of how even small acts like standing up for someone in need can make a difference. Layla's hands were still sticky, her lemonade gone, but her spirit was lifted. She realized that no matter what challenges came her way, there were good people in the world willing to help. And sometimes, heroes came when you least expected them. The sun kept shining, but now it felt warmer, brighter, and more alive. Layla looked around at the smiling neighbors, the reassuring presence of her mother, and the towering figures of The Rock and John Cena. She took a deep breath and straightened her back, feeling a sense of pride and hope she hadn't felt before. That day had started like any other summer afternoon, but it was already shaping up to be a story she would remember forever. The moment the two celebrities arrived, the air seemed to shift. The roar of the motorcycles faded, replaced by a quiet tension as The Rock and John Cena stepped closer to the little girl and her toppled lemonade stand. Layla's heart was still racing, but seeing them move with calm confidence made her feel a tiny spark of hope. She wasn't alone anymore, and that alone changed everything. Her mother held her close, still trembling from fear, but relief began to creep into her chest. The Rock knelt down, so he was at eye level with Layla, his large hands resting gently on his knees. "Hey, you okay?" he asked in a soft, warm voice that made her feel safe. Layla nodded slowly, unable to find the words at first. She felt a strange mixture of awe and nervousness. She had seen him on TV countless times, wrestling and acting, but here he was in front of her, caring about what had just happened. John Cena crouched nearby, helping gather the fallen cups and coins, carefully putting them back on the table as if nothing else mattered in the world except making sure the little girl was okay. Layla's mother whispered to her, "See? They're here to help. Everything is going to be fine." Layla took a shaky breath, feeling a bit braver with each second. She looked around at the neighbors who had gathered, all watching quietly. Some were smiling. Some had their phones out to record the scene, but everyone seemed to sense something special was happening. Even the bikers had stopped laughing. They had thought this would be a simple prank, something funny. But now the mood had completely changed. The Rock gave a small, reassuring nod to Layla. "You're really brave for standing your ground," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "It's not easy to be scared and still try to keep going." "You did good." Layla felt her chest swell a little with pride. No one had said anything like that to her yet. The biker who had ruined her lemonade stand hadn't cared at all about her feelings. But these men, two of her heroes, were telling her that her bravery mattered. John Cena handed her the tip jar, which had been carefully picked up from the ground. "Here," he said, smiling. "You earned this. Don't let anyone take that away from you." Layla's small hands gripped the jar tightly. It wasn't just coins in that jar anymore, it was respect, acknowledgement, and support. She looked up at Cena, her eyes wide. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, but it carried the weight of relief and gratitude. The bikers were watching now, clearly uncomfortable. Their laughter had stopped, replaced by nervous glances. One of them muttered something under his breath, trying to make light of the situation, but it didn't work. The Rock's presence was commanding without being aggressive, and John Cena's quiet but steady confidence added to it. The bikers realized they were no longer in control. What had seemed like a fun joke was now serious. A little girl had been hurt, and these two men were standing up for her, calm but unmistakably firm. Layla's mother held her daughter close, whispering again, "You're safe now. Don't worry." She looked at The Rock and John Cena with gratitude. She couldn't believe that these celebrities had noticed her daughter in distress and had come all the way to help. It felt surreal, almost like a dream. Layla hugged her mother tightly, still feeling the adrenaline of what had just happened, but now mixed with comfort. The Rock turned toward the bikers, his expression serious but not angry. "This little girl didn't deserve what just happened," he said clearly, his voice carrying across the small crowd. "You need to think about your actions and how they affect others." John Cena stood beside him, nodding. "It's not about fun or showing off. It's about respecting people, especially kids. You made a mistake." The bikers looked at each other, shifting uncomfortably. They hadn't expected anyone to confront them so directly. Meanwhile, the neighborhood had started to come alive in small ways. Some people stepped closer. Others whispered to their neighbors about what they were seeing. The energy in the street had changed from fear and frustration to a kind of collective hope. Layla's lemonade stand, messy and sticky as it was, had become the center of everyone's attention. What had begun as a moment of fear was turning into a scene of support and care. Layla, still holding the tip jar, felt a tiny spark of courage. She realized that even though she was small, she had done nothing wrong. She had been brave enough to run her lemonade stand and try to earn a little money for something she wanted. The Rock and John Cena were showing her that it was okay to stand up for herself, that being small didn't mean being powerless. John Cena picked up a cup of spilled lemonade, carefully pouring it back into the pitcher. "Don't worry about this," he said softly. "Accidents happen. The important thing is that you're safe." Layla smiled faintly, feeling a sense of relief. It was strange, she thought. How much better everything felt just because someone cared. The bikers had seemed scary and mean before, but now, with these two men standing beside her, they seemed smaller, unsure, and wrong. One of the bikers tried to laugh again, but it came out weak, almost nervous. The Rock gave him a steady look. "Laughing now won't fix what happened," he said calmly. "You need to make it right." Layla's mother added quietly, "It's never just about the money or the mess. It's about respect." The biker's face fell. He had expected no consequences, no one to care, and now the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. Layla took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. She looked at the two men and realized that something important was happening. It wasn't just about her lemonade stand anymore. It was about standing up for what was right, about knowing that even when bad things happen, there are people willing to help. The thought made her feel proud and strong. The Rock gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're doing great, kid," he said. "Don't let anyone make you feel small or scared. You have more courage than you know." Layla's mother's eyes filled with tears as she watched her daughter be supported and encouraged by two people she had admired for years. She felt a rush of gratitude and relief. The crowd of neighbors began to clap quietly, some cheering softly. They had witnessed the moment when two strangers, who were also heroes in their own right, stepped in to defend a little girl who had been treated unfairly. The bikers were now standing awkwardly, unsure of what to do. They had expected to scare someone and walk away, but now they were being confronted not with anger, but with calm authority and the silent judgment of the community. Layla's confidence began to grow. She realized that even though she was small and had been frightened, she could face difficult situations. She could be brave. The Rock and John Cena weren't just protecting her, they were showing her in a very real way that courage and kindness mattered. Her mother straightened up, still holding her daughter's hand. "You did nothing wrong," she said softly. "You are brave and you are loved." Layla nodded, feeling the truth of it sink in. She had been scared, yes, but she had also been brave. And now, with two of her heroes beside her, she felt that bravery strengthened almost like a shield. The bikers finally stepped back, clearly realizing that their actions had been wrong. They looked at the crowd, at The Rock and John Cena, and then at Layla. There were no more smirks, no more laughs, just hesitation and the faintest hint of remorse. For a few seconds, the street was quiet, except for the soft sounds of the breeze and the distant birdsong. It felt like the world had paused for a moment, acknowledging the courage and support that had come together in this one place. Layla looked down at her spilled lemonade, and then back at the two men. "Thank you," she whispered again, her voice stronger this time. The Rock smiled warmly, nodding. John Cena gave her a thumbs up, a simple gesture that carried so much meaning. It told her that she was seen, that she mattered, and that her bravery was recognized. The neighborhood began to relax, the tension fading slowly. The bikers, still awkward, started to move away, realizing they had lost the sense of control they thought they had. The crowd began to disperse, but people lingered, talking quietly about what had just happened. They felt connected by the small miracle of kindness and courage they had witnessed. Layla's mother squeezed her hand gently. "You're safe now," she said. "And look at this. You've inspired everyone around you." Layla felt a mix of pride and gratitude, realizing that her little lemonade stand had become more than just a way to earn money. It had become a moment of courage, a lesson in bravery, and a story that everyone present would remember. The Rock and John Cena stayed a little longer, making sure Layla was okay and helping to clean up the mess. Their presence had turned what could have been a frightening memory into a moment of care, hope, and strength. Layla knew she would never forget this day, not just for the lemonade or the bikers, but for the kindness and courage that had shown up when she needed it most. The tension in the street was thick, and Layla could feel it in her small chest. The bikers had slowed down, unsure of what to do next. Their initial confidence, the loud engines, the mocking laughs, all of it seemed to vanish the moment The Rock and John Cena arrived. Layla's mother held her hand tightly, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness. She didn't want her daughter to be scared again, but seeing these two men standing so calmly and firmly gave her hope. The Rock took a deep breath and addressed the bikers directly. "This little girl didn't deserve what happened," he said, his voice steady and calm. "You need to understand that actions have consequences, and you hurt someone who had done nothing to you." His eyes were serious, yet not angry. It was the kind of look that made people listen, the kind of presence that demanded respect without yelling or threats. John Cena stepped closer, his large frame protective but non-threatening. "It's not about making fun or trying to be cool," he said. "It's about doing the right thing. You made a mistake. Now it's time to fix it." He gestured gently toward Layla's spilled lemonade and the toppled cups. "See this? It's not just lemonade. It's someone's hard work, someone's effort, someone's dream. You can't just destroy it and walk away like it doesn't matter." The bikers exchanged uneasy glances. Their laughter and mockery had faded. One of them muttered something under his breath, but the words didn't carry any power. The Rock and Cena didn't argue or raise their voices. They just stood there, calm but commanding, and it was enough. The bikers felt the weight of the moment pressing down on them. They had thought they were in control, but suddenly they realized they weren't. Layla, still clutching her mother's hand, watched with wide eyes. She had never felt so small yet so important at the same time. These two men, her heroes, were standing up for her. They were showing her that it was okay to be scared, but it was also okay to be brave. Her chest swelled with a mix of fear, awe, and pride. She had been the victim of someone's careless and cruel actions, but now she felt supported, and it was a new, powerful feeling. The neighbors around them had begun to gather closer, their curiosity and support growing with every second. Some whispered to each other about how strange it was to see celebrities defending a child, while others simply watched in silent admiration. It felt like the entire neighborhood had shifted focus, as if the world had paused to witness this act of courage and protection. The Rock stepped a little closer to the bikers, his gaze firm. "You think this is a joke, but it's not," he said. "You hurt someone smaller, someone who can't fight back the way you can. You need to take responsibility." His tone was calm, but there was no mistaking the seriousness behind it. John Cena nodded, adding, "And it's not just about saying sorry. It's about understanding why what you did was wrong. You can't just pretend it didn't happen." Layla's mother felt tears prick her eyes. She was overwhelmed with gratitude. She had never imagined that someone like The Rock or John Cena would come to her daughter's aid. And here they were, calmly confronting the bikers and teaching them a lesson about respect. Layla's small hand squeezed hers tightly and she whispered, "Mom, they're really here to help me." Her mother nodded, unable to speak, but her eyes conveyed everything: thankfulness, relief, and admiration. The bikers looked around, noticing the growing crowd. They could see the neighbors' expressions: disapproval, concern, and a quiet support for the little girl. They realized that the entire street was now watching them. The feeling of power they had felt before had vanished. Their laughter was gone, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. The Rock and John Cena didn't need to shout or threaten. Their presence alone was enough to hold the bikers accountable. Layla took a shaky breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She felt a strange sense of empowerment. She realized that even though she was small, her feelings mattered. Her efforts mattered. Her bravery mattered. The two men standing beside her were showing that sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't have to be loud or aggressive. It just has to be firm and kind. One of the bikers tried to mutter an excuse, something about not meaning to hurt the lemonade stand, but The Rock shook his head. "Excuses don't change what happened," he said gently but firmly. "You hurt someone who trusted you to be decent. That's not okay. You need to take responsibility for it." John Cena added, "You still have a chance to make it right. That's all anyone can ask of you." The bikers looked at each other, realizing that they were cornered not by anger, but by accountability and the quiet strength of those around them. They shifted their weight nervously, unsure of how to respond. They had expected resistance, maybe some fear, but not this calm, powerful confrontation. They were unprepared for the attention, the respect for the little girl, and the authority of these two men. Layla, feeling the tension, took a deep breath. She wanted to speak, to say something brave, but her voice caught in her throat. The Rock smiled at her encouragingly, and John Cena gave her a small nod. She finally found the courage to say, "Please, don't hurt me or my lemonade." Her voice was soft but firm. The crowd murmured quietly, impressed by her bravery. Even though she was a child, she stood her ground. The Rock crouched slightly to look her in the eye. "No one is going to hurt you, okay?" he said. "You're safe now, and you did the right thing by speaking up." John Cena helped her steady the table and pick up some of the spilled cups. "See, you're strong," he said. "Bravery isn't about fighting someone bigger than you. It's about standing up even when you're scared." Layla felt a rush of confidence. She had been frightened moments ago, but now she felt seen and supported. The bikers had caused the problem, but she realized that the way people responded to problems mattered more. The Rock and John Cena weren't just solving the situation, they were teaching her, and everyone watching, a lesson in courage, respect, and responsibility. The bikers, now quiet and uneasy, began to realize that their actions had consequences. Their mocking smiles had disappeared, replaced by awkward glances. They looked at the spilled lemonade, the tip jar, and Layla's small face, and for the first time they seemed to understand that what they had done was wrong. They had underestimated the impact of their behavior and the courage of the people around them. One of the neighbors stepped forward slightly, not confrontational, just supportive. You should apologize, the person said gently. It's the right thing to do. The bikers shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. They were being held accountable not just by the celebrities but by the community. The Rock and John Cena's calm, firm presence amplified that accountability. Layla's mother watched with pride as her daughter's courage shone through. The little girl had been scared, but she had faced the situation bravely. The presence of The Rock and John Cena had given her support, but the strength had been inside her all along. The mother felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that this moment would stay with her daughter forever. John Cena carefully set the pitcher back on the table and smiled at Layla. You did great, he said. You kept your cool and you stood up for yourself. That's real courage. Layla's face lit up with a small, shy smile. The Rock nodded in agreement. You're a brave little one, he said. Remember that no matter what happens, you have the strength to face it. The bikers, still awkward, finally muttered an apology. Sorry, we didn't mean to. One of them started. The words were hesitant, but it was a start. The Rock nodded, acknowledging it. Saying sorry is the first step, he said. Now you need to make sure it doesn't happen again. John Cena added, and maybe think about how you treat people, especially kids. That matters more than you realize. Layla felt a warm sense of relief wash over her. The bikers weren't threatening her anymore. They weren't laughing. They were acknowledging what they had done wrong. And more importantly, she had been supported through the entire situation. She had learned something important. Even when bad things happen, there are people willing to stand up for what's right. The neighbors began to relax, some whispering to each other about what had just happened. The street, once filled with fear and noise, felt calm again. Layla looked at her mother and gave a small nod. She felt safe, supported, and proud. The presence of The Rock and John Cena had turned a frightening moment into a life lesson she would never forget. The bikers finally stepped back, muttering quietly among themselves. The Rock and John Cena helped Layla straighten the table and pick up the remaining cups. Everything's going to be okay now, Cena said softly. Layla smiled faintly, feeling a sense of security she hadn't felt earlier that day. For a little girl who had simply wanted to sell lemonade, this day had started as a nightmare but was slowly becoming a story of courage, support, and justice. She had learned that it was okay to be scared, okay to ask for help, and okay to stand up for herself. And she had seen firsthand how kindness, calm authority, and courage could change even the scariest situation into a positive experience. After the bikers had muttered their hesitant apologies, the street slowly began to calm down. The roar of engines had faded into quiet murmurs, and the neighbors who had gathered around started to relax. Layla still held the tip jar tightly, her small fingers wrapped around it as if it were a shield. Her chest still felt a little tight from the adrenaline, but the presence of The Rock and John Cena made her feel safe. She realized that even though the day had been frightening, things were starting to feel right again. The Rock leaned down to Layla's level and said, You know, it's not just about standing up for yourself. It's about showing people that kindness and courage matter. You've done both today, and that's something to be proud of. Layla's eyes grew wide. She had never thought of herself as brave before. Most days she was just a little girl, trying to enjoy summer and maybe earn a few dollars from her lemonade stand. But hearing The Rock say this made her feel bigger, stronger, and more important than she ever had. John Cena nodded, adding, And you know what? Even when people make mistakes, there's always a chance to fix them. You just saw that happen. He gestured toward the bikers who were still awkwardly standing a few feet away. The bikers looked uneasy, unsure if they should do more, but their discomfort showed that they were starting to understand. They had realized that actions mattered, and that causing harm, even accidentally or for fun, was not okay. Layla's mother stepped forward, brushing sticky lemonade from her daughter's dress. She smiled through her own lingering worry, and said, Thank you for standing up for her. It means so much. The Rock nodded gently. Of course, every child deserves to feel safe. And standing up for someone isn't about being famous. It's about doing what's right, John Cena added. Exactly. It's about protecting people when they need it, no matter who you are. And today you've seen that firsthand. The bikers finally shuffled closer. One of them spoke, his voice quiet and a little embarrassed. We're really sorry for knocking over your stand. We didn't mean to hurt you. Layla looked at them carefully. She was still scared. but she had gained confidence from the way The Rock and Cena had handled everything. She nodded slowly, feeling the mix of relief and cautious trust. "Thank you," she said softly. I just wanted to sell lemonade." The Rock gave the bikers a firm but understanding look. "Now that you've apologized, the next step is to make it right," he said. "It's not enough to just say the words. Actions matter. You can help fix what you broke and learn from this." John Cena gestured to the spilled lemonade and the toppled cups. "Even something small can mean a lot," he said. "Helping her set things right is a way to show respect and responsibility." The bikers looked at the mess. They had never considered how their behavior had affected someone else, especially a little girl. They slowly began to help, picking up cups, wiping sticky lemonade from the table, and even offering a few coins to help replace the lost money. Layla's small face lit up as she saw the effort. It wasn't perfect, but it was sincere. The bikers were trying to do the right thing, and that mattered more than anything else. Layla's mother felt a rush of gratitude and pride. She hugged her daughter tightly and whispered, "See, people can be good. Even when they mess up, they can try to fix it." Layla nodded, feeling warmth in her chest. She looked at The Rock and John Cena, who were smiling down at her. "Thank you for helping me," she said. "I was really scared." The Rock crouched slightly and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were brave," he said. "Being scared doesn't make you weak. Being brave means you face what scares you, and you did that today. Never forget that." John Cena added, "And never let anyone stop you from doing something you love, like your lemonade stand. You're stronger than you think." The little girl felt a new sense of courage growing inside her. The bikers were no longer a threat, the neighbors were supportive, and she had learned that asking for help was not a sign of weakness. It was a way to make sure things could get better. Her lemonade stand, messy and sticky as it was, became a symbol of resilience. She realized that even small efforts could teach big lessons. The bikers, now more composed, offered to help in a more meaningful way. They promised to pay for new lemonade supplies and even suggested helping her sell a few cups to make up for the ones that had spilled. Layla's eyes lit up with surprise and excitement. The thought that these once scary bikers were now trying to help her felt almost unbelievable. But with the guidance of The Rock and John Cena, she could see that people could change if given a chance. Neighbors began to step forward, some buying lemonade, some just cheering quietly for the little girl. The street had transformed from a scene of fear into a moment of community support. Everyone was showing that kindness, courage, and empathy could turn a bad situation into a positive one. Layla felt proud. She realized her small lemonade stand had become the center of something much bigger, a lesson in humanity, bravery, and compassion. The Rock smiled down at her. "See, this is what happens when people care," he said. "Even a small act of kindness can make a huge difference. Today you taught everyone here something important." John Cena nodded. "You did, Layla. Your courage inspired not just the bikers but the whole neighborhood. Don't ever forget that." Layla's mother wiped away a tear, feeling grateful for the support and guidance her daughter had received. She hugged Layla again and whispered, "You're amazing. You faced something scary and came out stronger." Layla hugged her back tightly, feeling warmth, love, and a sense of accomplishment. The bikers, now calmer and more respectful, helped clean up the remaining mess. They even offered a few dollars to replace what had been lost, showing that they understood the importance of taking responsibility. Layla smiled faintly, feeling a sense of closure. She had faced fear, received help, and now seen the power of accountability. The street slowly returned to its usual calm. Birds resumed their singing. The breeze blew gently through the trees, and the sunlight reflected warmly off the pavement. Layla looked at her lemonade stand, now mostly cleaned up, and felt a sense of pride. She had been through a scary situation, but she had learned so much about courage, kindness, and standing up for herself. The Rock and John Cena stayed for a little while longer, making sure everything was okay. They spoke to Layla and her mother, sharing stories of their own experiences, encouraging her to keep being brave, and reminding her that the world has good people who will stand up for what's right. Layla listened intently, absorbing every word. She felt inspired, empowered, and supported in a way she had never imagined. The neighbors began to leave slowly, some waving goodbye, some offering smiles and kind words. Layla felt a deep sense of community and belonging. She realized that even when things went wrong, people could come together to make things right. The experience had taught her that courage and kindness could change situations and that even small actions mattered. Her mother smiled at her, proud and relieved. "You did amazing today," she said softly. "I'm so proud of you." Layla smiled back, feeling the truth of it. She had been scared, yes, but she had also been brave. She had been supported, and she had seen the power of compassion in action. The bikers waved goodbye awkwardly and rode off. Their attitude noticeably changed. They had learned a lesson in respect, responsibility, and accountability. Layla had witnessed firsthand how courage and guidance could transform even the most difficult situations. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows down the street, Layla packed up her lemonade stand with the help of her mother. She felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. What had begun as a frightening afternoon had turned into a story of courage, learning, and community. The memory of The Rock and John Cena standing beside her, guiding the bikers to make amends, would stay with her forever. Layla looked around one last time at her neighbors, some still waving, some smiling, and felt a warmth in her heart. She realized that she had faced something frightening, but had come out stronger. She had learned about bravery, kindness, and the importance of standing up for herself and others. The little lemonade stand had been more than a way to earn money. It had become a symbol of courage, resilience, and the power of good people coming together. Layla knew that she would never forget this day, the lessons she had learned, and the people who had helped her through it. The evening sun cast a warm golden glow over the quiet neighborhood, and the street, which had been filled with fear and tension earlier, now felt peaceful. Layla stood beside her lemonade stand, which was finally cleaned up and organized again. Her small hands rested on the edge of the table, gripping it lightly as she looked around at her surroundings. What had begun as a frightening afternoon had turned into a lesson she would carry with her for the rest of her life. She had learned about courage, kindness, and the power of standing up for herself, even in moments of fear. Her mother, still holding her hand, smiled down at her. "You did something amazing today," she said softly. "You were brave and you stayed strong. Not everyone could have done what you did." Layla nodded, feeling the weight of those words sink in. She had been scared, yes, but she had also been brave. And that bravery, combined with the kindness and guidance of The Rock and John Cena, had changed the course of her day, and perhaps even the bikers' understanding of respect. The bikers, who had caused the chaos earlier, had left the street a little while ago. Layla had watched them go, feeling a strange mixture of relief and curiosity. They had apologized, helped clean up the mess, and even offered to pay for new lemonade supplies. Layla realized that people could change, and that sometimes even those who made mistakes were capable of learning and doing better. The lesson went beyond the lemonade stand. It was about humanity, about how actions had consequences, and how courage and kindness could inspire change. The neighbors, who had gathered earlier to witness the events, were slowly returning to their homes, but many lingered, waving or calling out words of encouragement to Layla. "Great job, kid," one neighbor said. "You showed real courage today," another added. Layla smiled shyly, feeling a warmth in her chest. She had never thought that selling lemonade could lead to such a memorable experience, but now she understood that even small actions could have a big impact. The Rock and John Cena remained a little longer, making sure everything was okay. They checked that Layla's lemonade stand was sturdy and that she had all the supplies she needed. "How's it going now?" The Rock asked gently. Layla nodded. "I'm okay. Thank you for helping me," she said, her voice soft but filled with gratitude. John Cena smiled and gave her a thumbs up. "You handled yourself really well today," he said. "Being scared is normal, but you stayed strong. That's real bravery."